Obviously, 2-3 on the weekend, and you know, a lot of learning. Feel like we let some moments get away. Kind of got out of character. The game kind of dictated that. It's a little bit of a disappointing outcome. The Washington game. I felt like I felt like we started to. I saw the season and the mentality kind of really changing right in that moment, and then we just couldn't put it away with a couple plays that we like to have back. So some really good learning. 6-4, not where I want to be, but I'm a lot happier knowing that we played 7 or so top 25 teams. I'd much rather be 6-4 against that schedule than 6-4 against a schedule against teams that aren't even in the postseason. So I still love this team. I don't think there's any question about that at all. We got better. We for sure offensively got better. We still gave too many at bats away. We really found out a lot about Elish this weekend. We already know about Kelly. She's really good. We knew that Elish was starting to come back, and then I think John and her really got on the same page in that last game and figured some stuff out, and she really looked sharp. And if we can get Morgan Day to kind of just keep taking some incremental growth as we go along here, I still feel really good about the staff. So some really good things, but obviously it's 6-4. We know we got a lot of work that we've got to do.
You said you noticed the mentality kind of changing in that Washington game. What were some of those specific things that stood out to you?
Well, the energy all weekend was really good. I felt like we got beat the whole first weekend in the dugout. And those of you who've been around here during my time here, we rarely get beat in the dugout. Our dugout was incredible. They were on point. The energy was crazy. And then we started answering. Like, we answered their blows. It was reminded me of the series that we had here against OU last year when they were punching, and we finally, in my 7 years or 6 years at that time, we punched back for the first time in a major way and was able to take the lead, right? We took the lead in Washington. We went back and forth and against what I would think is a top 5 team. They were really good. As good a team as we've seen all year long. Really impressed with them and really impressed with the way that we bat. I think we had 13 hits. So did they. It was just a heavyweight fight. And then to be able to bounce back the next morning, a quick turnaround. And to bounce back early, and Elish to give up 3 in the first, gets drilled off her leg. Looked bad, to be honest. I was like, oh man, we're gonna have to go to the bullpen here, and there's no outs. And she was like, there's no way. I'm staying in here. I'll be fine. Just give me a quick moment here. And then for our team to rally behind her, and Carly to get us going in the third with that big home run, and then we just kind of put enough good at bats together to win that game.
Is there something that you learned about the team this weekend or the weekend before that you maybe didn't know going into the season?
Oh, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure some stuff out as a staff. I think we're trying to figure out. Somebody reminded me last week that we had 13 new kids. I was like, it doesn't feel like that. But I guess that's true. So as you go through all that, I think there's a lot of learning, to do. Just how kids are going to act in certain moments. I'm learning more Morgan Wynn. Morgan Day. You feel like you've been around them the whole year, but we're competing now for real, right? So now we're starting to see who some kids are when we get into a little stress, and so now we start to go, okay, here's how we're going to coach that. So it's just a learning curve. It's just like John with Elish learning how to call her game. Her stuff is really good. If you got to watch it all, it's electric. It's hard. It's going down. It's got some float on it. And she's fine tuning it. He's learning her just like we're all going to learn these new kids and figure out how to get better each week. So I don't know that I've learned anything from first to second week other than our schedule is really tough I'm looking forward to going and playing again because we've got a lot of stuff that we can coach to, and I think we have their attention.
What have you learned so far about Morgan Day?
She's a competitor. I've learned that we've got to get her emotions kind of in a good even keel, so that she can execute the pitches. I'll be honest. I'm not shocked that she's given up some runs here early, because when you're a kid like her that thrives on the adrenaline, it's tough when you don't execute and you're playing this type of schedule, which she's never played. It's for real, and these hitters are for real, and the resources that all these teams were playing are just like ours. We've got every video, every data analytical format out there, so we have an idea of what's going on, and so if you don't execute, you're gonna get hit. So she's handled it very well. I'm very impressed with the kid, and I'm very impressed. I'm still knowing that we need her to win, and she's just got to kind of just keep fine tuning things where she may have been able to get away with things at her previous school, may not be able to do that here. Love her energy, love what she brings to the table each day, and I would anticipate her to continue to grow here.
You probably wouldn't have heard Taylor Tuck explaining her, talking through her bullpen sessions, and Morgan had no problem sitting here talking with us. Sounds like she's got a talkative personality.
Oh yeah, if you're not wearing your earmuffs around her, she'll wear you down. But that's her. Like I wouldn't change that for anything. And but she loves to talk. She's a talker. She's I bet she could tell you all about every one of her teammates. It's real. It's authentic. And I love it. I wouldn't change it. I mean, I'm glad that she's here, but she can't talk.
And how difficult could it be for someone to come in and maybe not be themselves? Brand new program for them and all that, and she's just walked in here and seemed to be very much so herself.
Yeah, she's jumped in here, grabbed onto this program, loved it like it was hers from day one, and I think that tells you everything that you need to know about her. She didn't tiptoe here. She came in, knocked the door down, and said, "Hey, I'm here. How can I help?" And I think when you bring these kids in here, if we could get them all to be like that, it'd be really good.
Has learning the pitching staff, like you said, 13 new kids, 3 of them are on your pitching staff.
Yeah.
Has that been one of the biggest tricks of the early part of this season, kind of figuring out how to manage them?
I think you'd have to ask John. I don't think we've had any problem with managing more than just learning. Ellis, we didn't have the luxury of having a fall with. So and she hasn't pitched in a real year and a half competitively. So she's gotten stronger each week. I mean, the fact that she hasn't pitched in a year and a half and in the second week throws a complete game after throwing 2 stressful innings the night before, when really, if we do our job, they would have been easy innings. I mean, we just didn't do our job. We made it very, very hard on her and created more stress. But for her to bounce back like that, I think you're seeing there's some strength there. There's some mental fortitude there. There's just a lot of learning on John's end. Like, he wants to call a game, and we're like a lot of people. A lot of the video that has kind of been out there now, I don't know if it really pertains to her, because she's different than she's been in a year and a half. You know what I mean? And so it was really cool to watch. I told John, I said the game you called with her, the last one was fun to watch. Because I could not get on the same page, which is a good thing. That's how he had gone away from the way I think that he had called. So when that kind of stuff happens, it's really cool to see, and that's when you go, yep, it's okay, everything's fine. It's just a learning curve, and her being receptive too. I told her on Saturday, she had a pretty rough Saturday morning, just feeling like she's letting the team down and all that, and it's nonsense, but it's how kids feel when they're competitive. And I just told her, I said, look, this is like in any relationship, it's a two-way deal. Like, you have to communicate with John. If you would rather throw some other things, he'd like to hear that. Just like he's telling you, don't just be a head shaker here. Like, this is a communication deal here. So talk back and forth. Let's walk through some things. The faster we do that, and the more open and vulnerable that you are, the faster you'll find the success that you think you ought to have.
In one of your videos after the games this weekend, you kind of mentioned how maybe a couple players are putting too much pressure on themselves. Is Miranda one of those players, just because from how good she was, and how can that kind of show in a game?
You know, I don't think she's one of those. I think she shoulders the burden if we don't perform. I would tell you that there's some other kids. I think Morgan Wynn has been putting way too much pressure on herself to do things. She'd be one of those. I think Kylie's in that boat. I think Busby's trying a little too hard at times. And I think she had some way better at bats. Still had some gross ones, but had way better as a whole. I thought she was way better as she went along. So it's just tough. You know, this game's already hard. And when you play the tournament that we just played and face the pitching that we just faced, I mean, we are officially calloused. I mean, our skin is calloused. And I guess I'm glad we're 6-4 for that reason. We should be ready. We are tested. We're going to continue to be tested. It's not like it's going to go away. If you looked at the end of our schedule, it's just as rough as this. And our conference will be just like this. So I guess I'm glad it's happened. I think we have some kids that trying a little hard. Morgan Day may be a kid that's been doing that as well, trying a little too hard. It's part of expectations. It's part of handling things. It's part of the growth of the program. And a little bit of that's on me too.
Are there specific signs of trying too hard, or does it kind of show up in different players in different ways?
I just see it in the body language. I see it in their eyes. You know, I know what happy looks like, you know, to these kids. I've seen happy. And when they're putting too much pressure on themselves, they kind of step back. I talked to Pennington. She made that error at third base, and I saw her, the way she was standing looked like she was back on her heels and her toes up. And I said, Sydney, our motto is moving forward, and I felt like you were moving backwards. You made a bad play. You made a throw that you like to have back. It's okay, but move forward. Just move forward. And I think if we can just remember that and stay on course, stay on the right road, we'll be just fine.